Can you remember how many films you've watched last year? Can you remember if they were even good? Did you know up for the 95th Oscars ceremony, there are over 40 movies nominated for an Oscar? Film fans, today I would like to make a guide for the 95th National Oscars Award to help you get more familiar with the films that are nominated, so you can be more informed when watching the Oscars on Sunday, March 12th, and discover some hidden gems that you might have missed the past year.
Movies are dreams that you never forget.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
The most magical place in the world.
And the Oscar goes to Leonardo DiCaprio.
It'll break your mother's heart.
This is larger than any of us.
The Academy Awards, best known as the Oscars, are awards for artistic and technical merit for the American film industry. The awards are regarded by many as the most prestigious, significant awards in the entertainment industry in the United States, given annually by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. But why even watch the Oscars? Isn't it just a bunch of famous rich people just patting themselves on the back and giving themselves awards? Not quite. The awards are a recognition of excellence in cinematic achievements of primarily American films. Filmmakers from all around the world are just creative people who just want to do one thing: tell a good story. Not to say there are filmmakers who are just in it for the fame, renown, or the money. There are those who just want to make amazing stories and share them with us film fans. And for those individuals, they deserve to be recognized for their hard work. Back when I went to film school, every year they would have an Oscar celebration. The school would have a big auditorium where they would have red carpets, they would have pizza, popcorn, everyone had to dress up, and we would just watch the Oscars every year. And that was the year Leonardo DiCaprio was nominated for Best Actor in The Revenant. Anytime that man's face came on the screen, the entire auditorium would just be chanting, "Leo, Leo, Leo." That energy just made me super excited for the Oscars every year. They weren't just films that someone made. Now it was something that we were personally connected with. We wanted Leo to win because he has never won an Oscar before. It felt like films were teams and individual actors or actresses were players, and we were rooting for our favorite team or player to win. I want to bring that type of energy to film fans. If you've ever watched the Oscars and only knew a handful of nominees, this is the video for you. In this video, I plan to tell you about each category in the Oscars and what films are nominated for each spot. So when Oscar Bowl Sunday comes around, you'll know exactly what team you're on and who exactly is going to be your MVP. I've watched all the trailers to every single Oscar nominated film so you don't have to. This will be your cheat sheet to the Oscars, and there are some interesting things I found while researching for this video. If you enjoyed this video, I nominate you to become a subscriber so you never miss another episode of My Film Diary. There will be timestamps in the description in case you want to skip to a specific film. Elvis. From his rise to fame to his unprecedented superstardom, rock and roll icon Elvis Presley maintains a complicated relationship with his enigmatic manager, Colonel Tom Parker. Over the course of 20 years, central to Presley's journey and his happiness is one of the most influential people in his life, Priscilla. Glass Onion. Famed Southern detective Benoit Blanc travels to Greece for his latest case. If you haven't seen it, I already did a review of this, and you can watch that review right up here. Avatar: The Way of Water. Do I really need to describe this one? Jake Sully and Neytiri have formed a family and are doing everything to stay together. However, they must leave their home and explore the regions of Pandora. When an ancient threat surfaces, Jake must fight a difficult war against the humans. The Batman. I'm sure you all already know about this one. Batman ventures into Gotham City's underworld when a sadistic killer leaves behind a trail of cryptic clues. As the evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of their perpetrator's plan becomes clear, he must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption that has long plagued the metropolis. The Banshee of Inisherin. On a remote island off the coast of Ireland, a man is devastated when his buddy suddenly puts an end to their lifelong friendship.
I'm not your buddy, girl! He's not your guy, friend!
With help from his sister and a troubled young islander, the man sets out to repair the damaged relationship by any means necessary. However, as his resolve only strengthens, he soon delivers an ultimatum that leads to shocking consequences. The Whale. In the town of Idaho, Charlie, a reclusive and unhealthy English teacher, hides out in his flat and eats his way to death. He is desperate to reconnect with his teenage daughter for a last chance at redemption. Aftersun. 20 years after their last holiday at a fading vacation resort, Sophie reflects on the rare time spent with her loving and idealistic father, Callum. At 11 years old, as the world of adolescence creeps into Sophie's view, Callum struggles under the weight of life outside of fatherhood. Sophie's recollection becomes a heartrending portrait of their relationship as she tries to reconcile the father she knew with the man she didn't. Living. A veteran civil servant receives a medical diagnosis that inspires him to move to the South Coast and cram some fun into his remaining days. He meets a sunny young female colleague who seems to have the pep that had previously escaped him. Causeway. Lindsay, a US soldier, experiences a traumatic brain injury during her tour in Afghanistan, which forces her to return home. She struggles to return to her daily life with her mother as she waits for her eventual redeployment. Woman talking. The women of an isolated religious colony reveal a shocking secret about the colony's men. For years, the men have occasionally drugged the women and had their way with them. The truth comes out and the women talk about their new situation. Empire of Light. The duty manager of a seaside cinema who is struggling with her mental health forms a relationship with a new employee on the south coast of England in the 1980s. The Fablemans. Young Sammy Fableman falls into love with movies after his parents take him to see the greatest show on earth. Armed with a camera, Sammy starts to make his own film at home, much to the delight of his supportive mother. And if you didn't know, this is basically a film about Steven Spielberg's life and how he became obsessed with movies. Everything, everywhere, all at once. When an interdimensional rapture unveils reality, an unlikely hero must channel her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers from the multiverse as the fate of the world hangs in the balance. If you haven't seen it, I already made a review of Everything Everywhere All at Once. You can click the link for that here. Okay, now they just did something unfair. They put two of my favorite supporting roles against each other. That's not fair. That's not fair. Top Gun Maverick. After more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Pete Maverick Mitchell is where he belongs, pushing the envelope as a courageous test pilot and dodging the advancement in rank that would ground him. Training a detachment of graduates for a special assignment, Maverick must confront the ghosts of his past and his deepest fears, culminating in a mission that demands the ultimate sacrifice from those who chose to fly it. Tar. Renowned musician Lydia Tarr is days away from recording the symphony that will elevate her career. When all elements seem to conspire against her, Lydia's adopted daughter Petra becomes an integral emotional support for her struggling mother. Blonde. A look at the rise to fame and epic demise of actress Marilyn Monroe, one of the biggest stars in the world, and one that you can catch on Netflix. 2. Leslie. Leslie, a West Texan single mother, struggles to provide for her son when she wins the lottery and a chance at a good life. But a few short years later, the money is gone and Leslie is on her own, living hard. She is forced to make a difficult choice. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. The people of Wakanda fight to protect their nation from intervening world powers in the wake of King T'Challa's death. As the Wakandians strive to embrace their next chapter, the heroes must band together to forge a new path for their beloved kingdom. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. A father's wish magically brings a wooden boy to life in Italy, giving him a chance to care for the child. However, the two of them have to struggle to find place for themselves as Italy becomes embroiled in fascism. If you don't know about Guillermo del Toro, he's very famous for his creature-driven films. He directed Hellboy 2, he directed Pan's Labyrinth, and he's just really well known for his style. So that plus the Pinocchio story makes for a very interesting film. Marcel The Shell with shoes on. Marcel, a 1-inch tall shell, lives with his grandmother, Connie, the only residents of their town after their neighborhood's sudden mysterious disappearance. When discovered by a guest amongst the clutter of his Airbnb, the short film he posts online brings Marcel millions of passionate fans and a new hope of reuniting with his long-lost family. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Puss in Boots discovers that his passion and adventure has taken its toll when he learns that he has burned through 8 of his 9 lives. Puss sets out an epic journey to find a mythical last wish and restore his 9 lives. I wasn't very interested in seeing this movie, however, I've been hearing that this is kind of a sleeper hit and is one of the greatest animated films of the previous year. The Sea Beast. Terrifying creatures roam the sea and the monster hunters are heroes. None is more beloved than the great Jacob Holland. When a young girl joins his ship, he finds an unexpected ally. Turning Red. A 13-year-old girl is torn between staying her mother's delightful daughter and the changes of adolescence. And as if the changes were not enough, whenever she gets overly excited, she transforms into a giant red panda. All quiet on the Western Front. War breaks out in Germany in 1914. Paul and his classmates quickly enlist in the army to serve their fatherland. No sooner are they drafted than the first images of the battlefield show them the reality of war. Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths. A renowned Mexican journalist and documentary filmmaker returns home and works through an existential crisis as he grapples with his identity, relationships, and the foil of his memories. Babylon. Decadence, depravity, and outrageous excess lead to the rise and fall of several ambitious dreamers in 1920s Hollywood as the industry begins to transition from silent pictures to the world of sound films. This is one of those films that didn't get a really good ad campaign, but still looks enjoyable to watch. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. In 1950s London, a widowed cleaning lady falls madly in love with a Dior dress, deciding she must have one for her own. After working to raise the funds to purchase her dream, she embarks on an adventure to Paris that will change not only her own outlook, but the very future of the House of Dior. Triangle of Sadness. Carl and Yaya, a couple of influencers, are invited to a luxury cruise ship alongside a group of out-of-touch wealthy people. The situation takes an unexpected turn when a brutal storm hits the ship. This is another example of a really good film that I didn't hear much about, but I'm very excited to start watching it. All That Breathes. As legions of birds fall from the sky and the city smolders in social unrest, 2 brothers race to save one of the casualties, a bird of prey essential to their city's ecosystem. All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. Interviewers provide insight into the life and work of renowned photographer and activist Non-Golden Navalny, detailing the 2020 assassination attempt of Russian opposition leader and former presidential candidate Alexei Navalny, in which he was poisoned with a military-grade nerve agent. Fire of Love. Intrepid scientists and lovers Katya and Maurice Kraft die in a volcanic explosion, doing the very thing that brought them together, unraveling the mysteries of volcanoes by capturing some of nature's most explosive imagery. A House Made of Splinters. In war-torn eastern Ukraine, a group of women run a home where they manage to create a warm place for children placed out of the home due to violence or alcohol abuse. The Elephant Whisperer. A couple in South India devote their lives to caring for an orphaned baby elephant, forging a family like no other that tests the barriers between the human and the animal world. Haulout. A man waits in his cabin on the desolate expanse of the Russian Arctic. He observes a natural event that happens there every year, but ocean warming is taking its toll. How do you measure a year? Filmmaker J. Rosenblatt documents his daughter's growth from age 2 to 18. The Martha Mitchell Effect. Historians profile the life of Marcia Mitchell, the wife of the cabinet member who was the most unlikely of whistleblowers, a Republican cabinet woman who was discredited by the Nixon administration in 1972 for keeping silent. Stranger at the Gate. A Marine plans a terrorist attack in a mosque in a small American town. His plan takes an unexpected turn when he comes face to face with the people he's trying to kill, forcing him to confront his own actions. Argentina, 1985. The true story of how a public prosecutor, a young lawyer, and their inexperienced legal team dared to prosecute the head of Argentina's bloody military dictatorship. Close. The 13-year-old boy Leo and Ramsey, two 13-year-old boys, have a close friendship at school and in the flower fields where they and their parents pick the harvest for home. When schoolmates shoot a wedge in the relationship, the consequences are fatal. Io, a gray donkey with melancholy eyes, encounters good and bad on his journey through life, experiences joy and pain, and endures the wheel of fortune. The Quiet Girl, a 9-year-old girl from a dysfunctional family, goes to live with distant relatives for the summer. Living with a middle-aged farm couple, she discovers a new way of living. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Four unusual friends, a boy, a mole, a fox, and, you guessed it, a horse, share truths about life as they search for a home. However, the boy learns that home is not always a fixed place. The Flying Sailor. When a nearby ship explodes, a sailor embarks on an unexpected existential journey, an exploration of the fragility of life through a sailor's near-death experience, inspired by the real-life catastrophic Halifax explosion of 1917. Ice Merchants. Every day, a father and his son jump with a parachute from their vertiginous, cold house, attached to a cliff, to go to a village on the ground, far away, where they sell the ice they produce daily. My Year of D is a 2022 American animated short film directed by Sarah, created and written by Pamela Ribon. The film was based on Pamela Ribon's 2014 comedic memoir, Notes to Boys and Other Things I Shouldn't Share in Public. An ostrich told me the world is fake, and I think I believe it. A mysterious talking ostrich helps an office worker in need uncover the flaws of his stop-motion universe. An Irish Goodbye. In rural Northern Ireland, a pair of estranged brothers are reunited after a premature death. Ivalu. A girl lives in a Greenlandic settlement with her father and older sister Ivalu. This girl is not happy because Ivalu has disappeared and her father does not care. At night, the girl dreams of a raven that leads her to Ivalu. Le Pupille. A story about a pure and selfish desire, freedom, and devotion in an anarchy that is capable of flowering into the mind of girls within the confines of a strict religious boarding school at Christmas. Nightride. Nightride is a real-time one-shot thriller about a dealer trying to pull off one last job in order to go straight. The Red Suitcase. In this airport, late in the evening, a veiled 16-year-old Iranian girl is frightened to take her red suitcase to the automatic carpet. She keeps pushing back the moment to go through the arrival gate and seems more and more terrified. Like I said, there are a lot of nominees for this year, and I'm very excited to get into some of these, which a lot of these I honestly did not know about, but after watching the trailers for some of them, I got really excited to watch some of these films. Not that I know that they exist at all, really. Some interesting things I discovered while researching the films is that there are always a handful of films that get most of the nominations. Everything Everywhere All at Once definitely has a lot. There's also the Banshees of Inisherin that is a high contender. All Quiet on the Western Front seems to get a lot of nominees as well. These films are like the top teams that are probably going to win Best Picture at the end, obviously because they're nominated for Best Picture, but they're also like your team to root for to get the most awards. Also, there are a lot of films that seem like they were Oscar baiting. Films that are just made to win an Oscar, or at least the filmmakers were making it with the intent of winning an Oscar. A film that feels like, wow, you're definitely catering to the Academy. One of them that really feels like that is Bardo, The False Chronicle of Handful of Truths. The cinematography in that looks amazing, and I would actually be surprised if it didn't win Best Cinematography. However, watching some of the trailers for these just got me really excited to watch some of these movies. Fire Love, for example, I really want to watch more documentary films, but I just haven't found one that really interested me. I'm not too interested in murder mysteries, which Netflix seems to be abundant in those, but A Fire Love, that seems like one that really makes me want to watch that. Triangle of Sadness is another one that I didn't really know about, but seeing that, I'm just like, this looks like a really interesting movie with some really interesting dynamics, and I really want to see how it plays out. All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, that looks like a really good investigative documentary film. One where they're getting like right in the middle of the conflict and they're trying to capture this story as it progresses. Something like that really makes me feel like it's the cutting edge of filmmaking. Navalny, that seems like a very politically driven film, but again, one that feels like it's right there, right in the middle of the conflict, gathering information and portraying it. And I've never really seen a political documentary, but it really makes me interested because I want to see what angle do they take. Do they stay more neutral? Do they kind of pick a side? What's the story that they're trying to portray? And that honestly just gets me very excited to watch movies, which is interesting that like I feel like I need that. And I feel like that's kind of what the Oscars bring. They get me more excited to watch movies. They showcase maybe some blind spots that I have missed throughout the year, and it gives me a list of movies to watch that I've missed and that I can look forward to. I'm super excited for Oscar Bowl Sunday. Let me know in the comments below who you think is going to win Best Picture, and if there's any films that you think should have been on the nominees this year. At this point, you already know who I would want to win for Best Picture: Everything Everywhere All at Once. Watch that film many times and I have cried each and every time. So a film that pulls me that emotionally should win Best Picture. If you enjoyed my Oscar 2023 guide, please let me know by subscribing. Now you don't have to waste hours watching movies that you may not have been interested in, or watching the Oscars not knowing about any of the films that are nominated. I'll see you all next time because we're moving on.